Um, if I could just change for 1 second and bring up an issue that's really quite troubling for me right now, and another issue, and that has to do with the Biden administration's decision to pass yet another sanction waiver for Iran. I thought this was Purim spiel when I heard it. Certainly, that's how the Republicans reacted when they first heard about it in the Senate and House in Washington. What this administration has done is to tell the Iraqis, you owe Iran $10 billion for energy that you import from Iran. Okay. And you have the right now, because of a sanction waiver, to convert those dinars in another country to dollars and deposit them in a bank account in an Iranian-owned and operated bank in Oman. And that the Iranians can have access to that money now for, get this, ready, humanitarian purchases. Right.
Well, obviously, what else would the Iranians do with money?
What else would they do with it? Correct. So here we have, yet another aspect of this American front, as I call it, or I should say the Biden front, in this multi-front war of ours. So far, I have heard what we say in Texas, crickets, nothing, as far as the their quaint expressions. There's been no pushback on this at all yet. I don't expect there to be any. Under ordinary circumstances, this should lead us, for example, to call in the American ambassador, Mr. Liu, who was one of the greatest facilitators of the original Iran deal that Obama instituted during the last closing days of his administration, and to call him in, publicly read him the Riot Act, and declare him persona non grata and send him packing. This sanction waiver is a hostile, extremely hostile act on the part of the Obama administration, because every dollar that we're allowing the Iraqis to pay the Iranians, and for the Iranians to obtain through their banks in Oman, can and will be used to harm us. There's no difference. The money is fungible. It can be used for whatever purpose. It's not like the United States is saying, no, you have to buy $1 billion worth of infant formula or something like that. No, they can use it any way they want. And the way they're using it is to attack us. So what is this fiction that we're somehow allies in this matter? We are not. Why is it that we're sending people over in the wake of this decision? Why are we sending people over to discuss our tactics for taking Rafah? The Americans have nothing to do with this. I mean, if anything, they are using the population of the refugees, rather, in Rafah as human shields to prevent us from finishing Hamas off, because they see Hamas as a valid partner to the PA in this two-state delusion that they want to institute. But I haven't heard one word from anybody on this matter. We have simply not pushed back in a manner that's appropriate to the insult and the threats that we have been receiving from the Americans. They're not acting as the Obama people. I have to make that decision. The Biden people, sorry. And now James Carver, who is probably the #1 Democratic strategist, is now made a statement a few days ago that if the Democrats lose the presidential election, it will be because of Israel.
Obviously.
I'm serious. I can't make this up. Not because the president's numbers are in the gutter or some other feature of a bathroom, or not because the economy is not in good shape, or not because people have any faith in some cognitively impaired criminal pretending to be a president right now, or for all the other reasons that he has some of the worst negative numbers of any sitting president. No, it's because of us. We will have caused the Democrats to lose the election if that happens. Wow.
It's what we discussed last week, if you recall.
Exactly.
BDS, derangement
syndrome. Quite right. By the way, I've noticed that, how shall I put this? There are people who have appropriated this term without giving due credit to the author, of the conceptia behind that word. So I just want to say, if you're going to use that term, give credit where credit is due. Okay, I've had my say.
Well, I think you also came up with a nice term a moment ago. I don't know if you noticed yourself. You said the two-state delusion, which is an excellent word.
Yeah.
Instead of two-state solution, speaking
delusion.
about two-state delusion is an excellent.
I can't claim credit for that. I mean, full disclosure. I mean, I heard that somewhere else.
All right, I haven't. Okay.
Yeah, but here again, if you look at all of these things, and I know, by the way, that Bezalel Smotrich's interesting response to the Biden administration's executive order targeting our citizens and farms, for example, in the territories, for fomenting violence somehow against the peaceful Palestinians who also live there. It goes along the following lines. Right now, PA banks, their access to the outside world goes through, for the most part, Israeli banks. Okay. And every once in a while, Bezalel, as Minister of Finance, by law, has to sign off on insulating Israeli banks from being held accountable by the victims of PA-inspired terror from being sued. Why? It seems that many of the PA banks are used to pass along money in the pay-for-slay program. So if you go after the Israeli banks, they will have nothing. If you make them vulnerable or accountable to being to the violence that's being facilitated by the PA banks in the pay-for-slay program, they won't have anything to do at all with the PA banks. They will literally be cutting the PA banks off from the rest of the world. Now, it's a great idea, and I give a lot of thumbs up to Bezalel for coming up with this. All he has to do is not sign the waiver, and the Israeli banks will become vulnerable to being sued by victims and their families for PA-inspired terrorism. Well, I think it's safe to say that we will be hearing something from the Ramatkal, from the Chief of Staff and the Minister of Defense on this issue as well. What we will be hearing is their total opposition to it because, well, how could we bankrupt an organization that they feel has equal rights to the land, the disputed land in the territories? There are
partners for peace after all.
There are peace partners, correct.